Welcome to the webinar, and thank you so much for joining us today. We're so glad you're here. I am Raeva Mae Ramos, but people here in the Leadership Coach Group call me Carl. I am the Operations Manager here at the Leadership Coach Group. So I usually work on the back end operations of the Leadership Coach Group. So being here, hosting, and interacting with you all is actually pretty new for me, but I'm excited and I'm so happy to be here. Maya?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Maya. I'm the Business Development Manager here at Leadership Coach Group. So, a big part of my role is connecting leaders with the right coaching support to help them grow. And being with all of you today and kicking off this conversation is truly an honor. So, this session is part of our LCG Open Coaching series where we bring leaders together to explore timely topics like this one, share practical tools, and experience live coaching in action.
So speaking of timely topics, today our theme is leaders leveraging AI or artificial intelligence to elevate personal effectiveness. So AI is reshaping the way we work today, the way we lead, the way we make decisions. And as leaders, the real opportunity isn't just about adopting to new technology. It's really now about using it wisely to amplify our strengths, to improve our focus, and to unlock more of our potential. Now, I am seeing a lot of new people just joining in, just coming in, and I also assume that a lot of you here now are confused. Like, where is Michael? Why is he not speaking? The usual host of this webinar. Well, this month is going to be new. Michael is actually going to be our speaker later. So, Michael, do you want to say hi quickly?
Hello, everyone. So glad you could join us, and I look forward to sharing what we've learned about AI to elevate personal effectiveness.
Thanks, Michael. And for all the new people who just came in, I would love to know where you are all coming in from. I am from the southern part of the Philippines. Maya?
I'm calling in from Manila, Philippines. And yeah, we'd love to hear where you're calling in from. Just drop it in the chat.
Thanks. And Michael here is calling in from
I'm calling in from the Washington, D.C. area.
Oh, there's Christine from Colorado. Hi, Christine.
Christine. We have May from Maryland.
Then there's Adam from Georgia, Jacqueline from Iowa. Hi, Diana from St. Petersburg.
We have
Stephanie
Stephanie
from Pennsylvania. Yeah.
and we have Alan from Ohio. You could all keep it coming in. Thank you so much. We have Sarah as well from Sterling.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Sarah. So thank you so much for coming into the webinar today. You could just chat anytime. Encourage you all to use the chat feature in the Zoho webinar.
There's Carrie from Chicago.
We have a lot of people all around the world, all from different time zones, but we're here today, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
So again, I am Carl Ramos. I am the Operations Manager of the Leadership Coach Group.
And I'm Maya. And in the next hour, you'll get actionable insight, a practical playbook, and a chance to experience live open coaching. So we invite you to be present, to stay curious, and reflect on how this connects to your own leadership journey. Okay, so before we dive in, let me give you a quick peek of what open coaching at LCG is all about. So first, the rhythm. We meet every first Friday of the month at noontime Eastern. So with one of our expert coaches, each month brings a new theme. So all tied to leadership excellence and helping you grow as a leader. Actionable insights. So now what makes this valuable is you don't just listen. We assure that you leave with at least one new perspective or tool to apply right away in your leadership journey. And to make it even more practical, we share a playbook. So this is a step-by-step guide with prompts and actions, like a little take-home kit to keep the learning going even after the webinar. And finally, my most favorite part, the open coaching. So audience members step into the coaching seat with their real challenge or even just a question. So, and one of our coaches does live coaching. It's dynamic, it's personal, and inspiring to see growth in real time. So that's the heart of open coaching, rotating expert voices, actionable insights, a playbook you can take with you, and live coaching that makes it all come to life.
you so much, Maya. So Maya mentioned something about the playbook earlier, and now that you know what this webinar is all about, let's talk about that playbook, which focuses on AI for personal effectiveness, and it's designed to help you leverage AI as a tool that supports your leadership. So in this playbook, there are five key areas or five topics that is going to go through like very detailed, very thorough. So first, you learn about the engineering framework. Second, you learn how about the limitations of AI or of generative models. Third, we'll also explore how to create a custom GPT that can actually write in your best self leadership voice. Next, we'll also learn how to use Gemini to quickly synthesize complex information. And finally, how to tailor your communication using AI powered personality analysis. And if you're wondering where to get this playbook, don't worry. We'll share more about this later. So, yeah.
Thank you for that, Carl. And now that you know a bit about open coaching, I'd love to share what we offer more broadly here at Leadership Coach Group. So, our services are really built around three main areas. So, that's individual or the executive coaching, team development, and leadership assessment. So, let's start with one on one or the executive coaching. It's a confidential and tailored partnership where leaders sharpen self awareness, clarify goals, and build strategies, all in a safe space to level up their leadership journey. The second one will be the team effectiveness or the team coaching. So leadership is never just about the individual, as we all know. So it's about the teams we lead. And through team coaching, psychological safety assessments, and inspirational speaking, we help teams build trust, collaborate better, and stay aligned on their goals. So that's creating a more confident, cohesive teams ready for any challenges. And lastly, finally, our leader assessment or the leadership assessment. So we use top tools like the DISC, which provides insights into personality styles, as well as 360s, so which gathers feedback from key stakeholders. And together, they provide leaders with valuable insight into strengths and opportunities, shaping a strong roadmap for growth. So whether it's one-on-one coaching, whether it's team coaching or assessments, our goal will always be the same, and that is to help leaders unlock their potential and create real sustainable impact.
Thanks, Maya, for talking about our services. So, speaking of our services, we have served a lot of leaders all around the world. And here you can see a lot of organizations we've worked with, like Google, Sony, Facebook, a lot of companies here you've probably heard. And even if these are like big or global companies, our work isn't limited to large corporations. We also support leaders from small to medium-sized businesses. We support nonprofits such as the American Red Cross and also government agencies. So wherever you are, wherever state you are, as a leader, whether you're in a startup, a nonprofit, or a global enterprise, we're committed to helping you grow, make an impact, and reach your full potential.
Okay, so thank you for that, Carl. As Carl mentioned earlier, you will get a playbook. So this is a step-by-step guide with key takeaways as well as practical actions you can put into practice right away. And it's designed to help you keep the momentum going even after this session. Right after this webinar, you will receive a follow-up email. So that contains the playbook. Secondary will be the slide deck. So we'll share today's slide deck so you don't have to worry about taking notes on every detail. You'll have everything we went over handy to review anytime. And lastly, you will get a complimentary coaching session. So it's a chance to see what one-on-one coaching is really like, tailored to your own leadership goals and challenges. And it is our way of giving you a taste of what deeper coaching can do for you. So yeah, watch out for your inbox. You'll get this as soon as we wrap up.
Now, we'd like to introduce our CEO of the Leadership Coach Group, Michael Seelman. He's right now here, and he is an executive coach actually for over 20 years now, and he's guided more than 150 senior leaders across 5 continents. So he served from CEOs to top government executives.
And before co-founding LCG, he served in senior leadership roles at the White House, Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and the FBI. And at the FBI, he served as a Deputy Chief Knowledge Officer, where he earned his Chief Information Officer certification from the U.S. Department of Defense. And he also served as the Global Head of Internal Communications, where he advised Director Bob Mueller post 9/11 terrorist attacks.
Now, he's currently completing his PhD in organizational leadership with research focused on how psychological safety can support successful AI integration. So he's very well versed when it comes to this topic. Please join me in welcoming our CEO here at the Leadership Coach Group, Michael Seelman.
Thank you so much, Carl and Maya. I really appreciate that generous introduction, and for you doing such a fabulous job telling people about what we have to offer here at the Leadership Coach Group. I'm really excited to share with you what we collectively have used in AI. Like just before this meeting, when we were calling together our intent for this webinar, Maia was talking about how much we use AI in our own company and how much we use it to forward our own efforts. And we hope to share some tips we have from our own work with AI with you so that you can elevate your own effectiveness. Now, to help us focus, what I want to do is give you the opportunity to get more present. And what I often say with my coaching clients is, let's do some box breathing methodology. And there's other ways you can help get present. Like one of our fellow coaches, Jen, in the last month's webinar, she talked about being aware of your senses and how that can help you be more present. The one that I tend to use more with my clients is box breathing. And so I'd like to offer you the opportunity to do that with us. And there's lots of benefits to it. It's physiologically, when we do deep breathing, it helps oxygenate our blood. It helps slow down our pulse rate. It can help us then speak at a more effective cadence if we're presenting, or be more present when we're having some difficult conversations. And it can also help us be in a state of absorbing information and material better. So that's why we're going to try to do it right now. And box comes from the way I like to think. I'm a visual kind of learner, so I think about how it makes a box in the process that we're going to do. So we're going to do a deep breath in, and then we're going to hold that breath kind of an extended period of time. Then we're going to extend out our breath out, and then we're going to pause and do it again. Now, I like to close my eyes to help make me be more present, but you can keep your eyes open or closed, however works best for you. So as much as strange as it might be to have your presenter close your eyes in the presentation, I'm going to do that as I do with my clients. And so you might want to have a good posture, try to relax. Sometimes I get my tenseness in my shoulders. You can roll your neck if you like. Have your feet flat on the floor. And let's do a deep breath in. And hold that breath, 2, 3, 4, and deep breath out. And pause. And deep breath in. 2, 3, 4, and hold. And deep breath out. And pause. And deep breath in. Hold. And deep breath out. And pause. Now, if you close your eyes, I invite you to open your eyes now. Hopefully you feel calmer and more present and able to absorb information. When I take improv comedy classes, we even do it before we perform skits together, so that we're all more present and in a creative frame of mind and able to interact with each other more deeply. So I hope you're in that present state of mind. And so let's jump into our content now. So first, to kind of get a level set, I want to see where we are in terms of our experience with AI. With one being you've had no experience with AI or very little experience. With 5, you may consider yourself an expert of AI, particularly today's subject of generative AI. So we're going to pop up a survey now. And we'd just like you to enter what you think, what number best describes the way you see your experience with AI. That'll help me kind of tailor my remarks to understand how much explanation I should provide as we go through the different techniques that we like to share with you.
So, Michael, I'm seeing a lot of people actually, the majority here scored 3, and we have the average rating of 2.4. So, no one is, I see one person who answered 5 stars, so we have an expert here. And yeah, so majority of the people here answered 3.
Carrie
Terrific. So,
here on the chat says she's 2, Jacqueline 1, and Diana with 2.
okay, terrific. Thank you very much for all of you participating. That helps me know how I should gear remarks. And, the person that rated yourself a 5, maybe we would ask you to share your thoughts too. So thank you so much for doing that. So on this next slide, just wanted to outline the challenges that we'll try to address today. So we thought about the community of leaders that we work with and what are some challenges that they're facing that we might want to cover in this first webinar. And we thought there's other challenges where AI might be helpful. We might do follow-up webinars, but we wanted to kind of narrow the scope to something that we could do and leave time for open coaching. So we know that there might be leaders participating now or out there that want to build authentic messages for their people, for their teams, for their colleagues, but do it faster. I saw a study recently where leaders are leading larger teams than they have in the past, where they have more direct reports, and yet they want to often have that personal touch. So how can you do that? Well, imagine if you had a custom GPT in ChatGPT that was trained in your best self leadership voice. They'd help you draft emails, speeches, presentations, and thought leadership posts that truly sounded like you or the best version of you. So imagine that. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Or say you had a need to quickly synthesize industry trends to master emerging technologies like AI, or make sense of disjointed internal data, but the research might normally take more time than you have to compile that research, or maybe you don't have the support of a team to put together a report like that and you wanted to do it very quickly. What if you had that challenge? Or you're pressed for time and you have an overflowing inbox, but you wanted to make sure that every member of your team and your colleagues and your customers, your partners got a thoughtful reply, that you thought they deserved it and you wanted to provide it to them, but you have this time crunch. Well, if you're facing these challenges, you're in the right place, because we're going to try to help you solve them. Because what we're going to cover today is some techniques of how to have effective prompt engineering. So both of you that are new to AI and generative AI, prompt engineering means that's how you write a prompt, a script, or some sentences in a generative AI model to help it know what you want out of it. So we're going to go over some techniques of how to do that effectively. We're also going to talk about the limitations of AI generative models. I've been doing research on AI for over 7 years now, and often I get asked, what are some of the limitations of it? And we want to make sure to highlight those. It's an amazing tool, and it can be an amazing partner for the work you do, but it's not perfect. Just like any team member you might have is not perfect. So it's good to be aware of its strengths and its limitations. And we're going to show you how to create a custom GPT to help you generate that best self leadership voice and how you can do that at scale. We'll also be looking at Gemini, which is Google's generative AI model, to how we think that's one of the best at synthesizing research into actionable takeaways. And it's really cool thing is it can also generate not just a script-based output, but an audio overview that sounds a lot like a podcast of real people discussing the topic that you asked it to create a report on. And then finally, we're going to also share how to tailor your own communications using AI personality analysis to be tailored towards the audience that you're trying to reach. So in a way that's not just your style, but one that they would appreciate and will be more effective in reaching them. So there's lots of tools out there for AI. We're not going to cover all of them in our demo, but there, just to be aware, there's ChatGPT, which is one of the kind of had an early mover advantage and is well known now for those of you that use AI. Gemini is Google's product, which actually works very well. And sometimes in our company, we combine output of these two tools in a project that we might be doing. Another model to be aware of that's big in the global scene is DeepSeek, that comes out of China, that is a very cost-effective model for doing generative AI. And then there's others such as Claude, Meta, and Grok to be aware of. Today, we're going to be focusing on ChatGPT, Gemini, and then also a tool called Humantic AI that allows us to do the personality analysis and then to include that in how we're crafting our messaging. There are other tools in addition to Humantic AI, but we found that to be a very effective tool for us. So that's why we're going to highlight that one. So to think about how to do prompt engineering, I want to give Carl credit. She came out with this Compass framework. I think she also used AI to help come up with the framework of having to do prompt engineering of AI. So it's kind of funny. AI can help you with itself, right? And so the Compass framework, that's an acronym, COMPASS. So we're going through each letter in that acronym about how you can use that to most effectively get what you want out of these generative AI models. So the first letter, C, is for context. And that's where you provide the background behind your request and include examples that AI understands what good looks like. So in each of these letters of Compass, we've given an example that might be your first inclination way of writing a prompt, and then a way that you can maybe make a more effective prompt so you can get the outcome you want out of ChatGPT or another generative AI model. So instead of just saying, create an email to request a refund for a company event, you could be more specific and say, because you might have something in your head and you got to communicate that to the ChatGPT, just like you might do a colleague. So for instance, if I was asking Carl or Maia to do something for our company, they're going to be more effective if I give them some context about what I'm thinking of, instead of just say, hey, go do it, and not giving them much context. And then it's on me for not giving them effective context. Same thing, think of ChatGPT as a very intelligent partner that you want to give some context to. So you could say, I need to write an email to request a refund for a company event. The event was canceled at the last minute due to weather, and we had prepaid for catering and space. I want the tone to be respectful, clear, and persuasive. Right? Then you're giving the context to the AI to give you an output that you're looking for. So go to the next one. The O in Compass stands for outcome. That's where you clearly state the result that you want. So it might be a summary, a draft email, talking points, some analysis. Let it know what kind of output you're looking for. So instead of just saying, summarize this, you could say, provide a 3-paragraph executive summary of this 5-page report, focusing on key trends and recommendations for fourth quarter planning. So they are much more likely to get the outcome. Now, we're not suggesting you spend lots of time doing these prompts, like you have to get it exactly right. You'll see an example I demo. You can iterate. You can make your prompts better, and ChatGPT will quickly revise it based on your prompt. That's one of the great things about working with ChatGPT. Doesn't get offended, doesn't get upset that your first prompt wasn't great. You can make it better. You can hone it as you're going along. So now let's look at the M in Compass, in the acronym for prompt engineering, and that's model or role. So you might want to assign the AI a role so it knows how it's advising you. So for example, you can say, instead of saying write a message for the team, because it doesn't know anything about your team, it doesn't know anything about your role, you might say, you are the CEO of this company, addressing company employees after we missed our quarterly goal for sales or performance or whatever it might be. Draft a clear, accountable, and hopeful message, right? You don't want to just, I would advise you, since as the chief of internal communications at the FBI, I wouldn't have told Bob Mueller, say, tell the workforce they did this terribly without any sense of hope, right? You want to lead a sense of hope to the message that acknowledges results, but highlights some lessons learned, and you could input them in your prompt. Here's some lessons learned from the missing the target. And also outline the 90-day plan. So maybe you worked with your C-suite team about what the 90-day plan would be. So you could put in some elements of that plan that you brainstormed with your C-suite team, and also name 3 priorities, right? And you could input that in the chat. Our team came up with these 3 priorities. And the owners, and we identified executive sponsors of those priority initiatives and put in the names so the ChatGPT knows their names and their roles. And now, generate a message to the workforce so that they know that we missed the goals. We're admitting that, you're being vulnerable. That builds psychological safety, by the way. And that we also think we can overcome that. We're a learning organization. We're going to try to overcome it. And then here's how we're going to try to overcome it. And we have some people that are going to lead that towards. So then it could give you a much more effective email message based on that. Would have loved to have that resource when I was doing communications for Bob Mueller and other FBI executives. So now let's move on to P in Compass. That's for presentation. So you specify the output format of, so maybe you want some bullet points. Maybe you want it to be in a table, or you want it to be in some narrative form. So instead of just saying, tell me the pros and cons of remote work, like I often work with CEOs now where they're coaching CEOs and they say their workforce is pushing for more remote work, but they think there's reasons why they should be in the office at least some days of the week. So you could say, hey, list 3 pros and 3 cons of remote work in a 2-column table, and with each point limited to 15 words. So they want to tee up this table that they might bring to a C-suite meeting to discuss, how are we going to set our remote work policy? So we move on to the next letter in Compass, and that's A for audience. And you can define who the response is for, so the language and tone fit the reader. So instead of just write a product memo, it could say, write a product memo for senior engineers and data scientists, be technical, include assumptions, metrics, and trade-offs. So if your audience was technical, it might be good for the technical memo to have technical specifics. However, if your product memo is going to senior executives that might not have the same technical ability, maybe they rated themselves lower on that scale of AI familiarity or whatever the topic of the product memo is, then say, I want to include a high-level executive summary. I want to provide a cost-benefit analysis because I know that's the kind of thing they're going to ask about and be interested in. And I want specific recommendations and decision points so you can go through and have decision points. I know that when I used to meet with the head of the FBI, Bob Mueller, when I was there, I made sure to tee up memos for him that were very specific. It would number what decisions I would ask of him. And I just say, yes, his format he liked was yes, no, discuss, right? To have those decision points so that he could move on to his next meeting of, and that he could just get what I needed out of him to serve him as his chief of internal communications. So you can ask ChatGPT to tailor it towards the audience that you're working with or whatever generative model you're working with. So then we move on to the first S in Compass, and that's style. So you can give it some guidance about the voice or tone or brand personality. I saw that we have one of our coaches, Sarah, on here, and she talked about in a previous webinar about your personal brand. So you might want ChatGPT to reflect your personal brand or a certain tone you want in that communication. So instead of just saying, make it more professional, you might say, revise this with a calm, confident tone, like how I aspire to speak in executive briefings, to be clear, persuasive, and focused. And finally, the last S in Compass for our framework is to think about the scope. You want to apply some boundaries and restrictions, like the word count, the number of bullets, or the depth level. So, for instance, our company is often doing posts on LinkedIn. So you could say, give me ideas for a LinkedIn post, or You could say, suggest 3 LinkedIn post ideas and generate the post for under 100 words each that position me as a thought leader in AI and leadership. Could apply to me, right? So those are some ways to use a framework of prompt engineering, which is a way of helping AI help you. If you ever heard Jerry Maguire, help me help you, right? You're going to help AI help you get the output that you want for the type of work that you're doing. So now let's talk about some limitations of generative AI models like ChatGPT or Gemini or others. You might have heard this term, hallucination. So AI may produce confident sounding but incorrect answers. There's some classic examples where a lawyer asked AI to generate a legal brief, and it included legal citations that were not true. It made a persuasive legal brief, but it had some citations that were not actual court cases. We've used AI to help us generate some in-depth proposals where it was very persuasive, but it said things about our company that weren't true. So we had to make sure that to edit those things because you think about it, it's trying to, you might say, write a persuasive proposal. Well, it'll write a persuasive proposal, but it might not know everything about your company or might not know everything about legal cases. So you have to be aware of how you're prompting it and then what its limitations might be. So sometimes it can bring in those things. You can sometimes craft your prompt so it's less likely to do it, but it's still something to be aware of. As Carl and Maia can attest, I often say, use AI, but read it. Use your brain. Make sure to check because it can hallucinate. That's what I try to do as well. Then there's something called token length, which refers to the output it can generate, and sometimes that depends on how much you're paying into the model, whether you have a free version of these generative AI models or you're paying a paid version or a higher tier paid version. Then you can have certain features be accessible to you or more text output. So, it might be 5 to 10 pages of text output, for example. One of the ways we've gotten around limitations of that is say, okay, write now the first section of this proposal, then write the second section of the proposal, then write the third section of this proposal. And that way you can have a longer output, but each time you're just asking it to generate a section of the outcome that you want. As I mentioned, there can be different costs depending on what you need for your company. We kind of have the mid-tier version for Leadership Coach Group with ChatGPT. We find that that's sufficient for our needs. But if you're someone that's using AI to generate software code for your company, like one of my clients does, who's the CEO of his company, he probably has a higher tier paid version for that. Something else to be thinking about is privacy and confidentiality. Some companies have chosen not to put any sensitive data in generative AI tools. We try to do kind of a third way approach in Leadership Coach Group, where we be careful with our information that might be sensitive, but we also have the setting turned off to say our data that we put in there cannot go towards ChatGPT's training data, because we want to make sure to keep it confidential, but we also find it allows us to serve our clients and customers more effectively and at a lower cost when we do use tools like AI. So now we get into a fun part. We're going to do a demo of some ways that we use AI. Mostly going to be demos showing how we've used it in the past, but and want to remind you that as Carl and Maia talked about, we have a playbook that you'll get a link to a page on our website where that playbook will be posted, and they'll help do these things in greater depth. I'm mostly going to try to get you excited about the potential of using these tools, and there'll be more of a step-by-step guide in our playbook. So hopefully I don't frustrate you, and I'm kind of going to skip over some steps, but I just want to give you a sense of the potential, how powerful this tool can be in elevating your own personal effectiveness or your team members. So first, what I wanted to do is to start with how you can create a custom GPT. And so when we do a custom GPT, you can have it do many different functions. So for the leadership coach group, we create a custom GPT for things that we find ourselves doing over and over again that fit the strengths of AI supporting us. One of those things is to be able to craft messages in my voice as a CEO of a company. So I use an avatar, I call it a custom GPT of my own voice to write messages to team members, to customers, to clients faster and more personalized. Or I also use it for presentations or things like that. Sometimes Carl uses my custom GPT. She has access to it. So does Maia, to help me with these messages as well. So we want to show you how you can create custom GPTs for a variety of purposes. But here we're going to talk about how you might create one in your own voice to accelerate effective best self messaging. So I'm going to share my screen to do that. So here we are inside ChatGPT. This is the model we think is very good at creating things for specific tasks. And if you see, when you first open ChatGPT, it'll look like this. Might just say, what can I help with? And then you can go to this on the left-hand side, you'll see Explore under GPTs. And then you can click this plus sign, Create, in the upper right-hand corner, Create a custom GPT. And as I mentioned, I'm going to skip over some steps in the interest of time. And now what I want to do is share how we created our own custom GPT. So if you see, one of the ones we have is Michael's avatar, and you can see the things that we might use it for: create a blog post or write an email. It helps you think of ways that you might use this powerful resource. What I wanted to do is to go into, show you an idea of how we created this. So when you go in there and you create it, it'll be more blank, and you'll say, in this create section, you can describe narratively what you want this GPT to do. And you can use some of the tools and techniques that we mentioned in the Compass model here. So you can say, be an expert in Michael's voice, and you could describe, if your avatar and your voice, and you can describe what you want it to be like. And you can describe the types of things you might use it for. And then it'll get it and say, be an expert in it, right? And so you can use some of the ways we described of how to interact with the ChatGPT to serve the needs you have. The really powerful aspect of this is under configure. So after we gave it some, under creation, some things that we might do it for, it then came up with these instructions that this GPT served as Michael Seelman's avatar, assisting and drafting emails, blog posts, social media posts, other written communication in Michael Seelman's unique voice. It's equipped in his style, his professional achievements, so it knows things about my background, my leadership philosophy, including extensive background in executive coaching, leadership development, government service, and so forth. It got that from the creation step. It says use these insights and this education experience, and certifications. You could even put in things about your family or about phrases you like using a lot, and so they could help you get to that personalized outcome faster. For me, since my dissertation's focused on psychological safety, things like that, it knows that. And so those things it knows about our company, is going to be writing about our company and things like that. So you don't have to educate it each time we interact it. It already has that background. Well, how did it get that background? Well, we uploaded a lot of different documents. And when we created this some time ago, you had to upload the documents. Now you can sometimes just point to a website. Like we uploaded a variety of different pages in our website, which was necessary at the time. That you don't really need to do. You could just upload a website and it'll read through the website and know about your company, your organization. And then to get my voice more authentically, I uploaded webinars and podcasts. I uploaded papers I had written about my own description of my personal leadership style. I uploaded my LinkedIn profile and some description about my background, and then kind of worked with it to kind of refine the model. So it's relatively easy if you have some of those things, and then not everyone's been on webinars and podcasts like I have, so you might have to think about a little bit more about what you want your unique voice to be. But I like to think of it as also my best self voice. Sometimes I'm tired or I'm a little upset about something, and yet, like if I'm writing to Carl or Maia, I want to make sure it's my best self. So they probably know that sometimes I go to ChatGPT to write messages to them because I want it to be my best self, not my grumpy self. And so I'll go to ChatGPT to write a message from me to them, so they'll, because I want them to get my best self, not my grumpy self or my tired self. And so I'll go to this resource to help me do that, or to a coach or something like that. One of our coaches or one of my clients or customers. So this avatar can be really helpful for those kinds of things. So this is how we configured this custom GPT. And then I wanted to demo how you could use it. So as I was expressing to Carl and Maia right before we joined, I'm really grateful for how they stepped up in this webinar. And there was originally a different coach that was going to present, and then she wasn't able to present, so we substituted this topic in, and so there was a lot of pressure on them to do things at the last minute, and then I had a family situation that made me less available than I would have liked to be, and they really stepped up. So let's say I wanted to write each of them a really personalized message. I could do that here, and so I could say, help me write a email. So I'm telling the type of message to Carl, and I'll say I would do one for Carl and one for Maia. It's possible I would write it to them together. But in this case, to demo some of the software I wanted to, let's say we started with an email to Carl, and then maybe we did an email to Maia later. Say, help me write a message to Carl thanking her for her help, for her leadership in putting together today's webinar on how AI can help elevate personal effectiveness. So you notice I don't have to spell everything exactly right. I don't have to put in our company name, because this particular custom GPT knows our company name and things like that. And I want to particularly highlight her teamwork with Maia, her professionalism, and how she accepted last minute changes and information with equanimity. I'm not spelling everything right, but let's see what it does.
So, Michael, while ChatGPT is still thinking, I just wanted to bring up some of the questions we have here in chat.
Yeah.
So we actually have one from the Q&A in Zoho. So we have creating a customized AI is only available in paid version of ChatGPT. Yes. Do you want to answer that one?
I'm not sure. I think it is. Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. And also from Jacqueline, what security settings do you have set to ensure that these documents aren't accessible further than you intend?
So there's a setting where you can say whether AI's input can be used to their training model. And so you can go in settings and do that. And it'll be different in different AI models that you'll be working on. But you can look for those settings. In the paid version, you can choose to do that. In the free version, you may not be able to do that. So is that all the questions for now so far, Carl?
We have another one as well. Like, here's the question. Also, is your customized AI only for your use? Or once it's trained well, my teammates have access to your AI or eventually clients to ask for, say, your thought partnership when something isn't critical?
So the way we've set up with Leadership Coach Group is you can choose to have certain custom GPTs shared with other team members, and Carl and Maia have access to this one, but I could restrict it to just me using it if I wanted to.
So it depends on what they want, what their needs are.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's great like that. So you could have like particularly maybe your sales team, has access to certain custom GPTs, or your operations team, however you might want to do it, or you could make it accessible to everyone in the company. So now to show how you might combine this, let's say I wanted to redraft this, taking into account Carl's personality. You might say, okay, I just wrote this from my perspective, but I was like, oh, Carl might appreciate a note in a different way. And so one of the things that's really powerful about Humantic AI is that some software that can look at someone's LinkedIn profile, and based on what it reads there and their posts, it can guess what their personality is. And so, I've worked with Carl for years, so hopefully I shouldn't need to guess about her personality. But for this demo, let's assume I needed to guess, because I was working with a customer that I didn't know. And what I'm going to do is share this tab. So one of the things Humantic AI can do is do a report based on that LinkedIn profile. And it can say here that Carl has likely a DISC profile. And I asked her beforehand if this is okay, of a DIS, right? So some dominance, influence, and steadiness. And then there's something else it can guess, is something called an ocean profile, and you can enter that. So I can go back to ChatGPT and say, rewrite this, or revise this. This is one of the things I think some people don't do, is they iterate with it. It's important to iterate with it. Says, revise this message, assuming Carl has a DISC profile of DIS. So it knew what, see, I didn't have to explain all what DIS stands for. It knew it, and it's telling me it knows it by regurgitating, yep, those are what this, and then, I don't know, Carl, would this appeal to you as a message? You can, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I can see that it is a lot better than the previous prompt that ChatGPT gave us, actually.
Okay, thank you. So this is an example of how you can do that. Now, I know we're a bit tight on time, so I'm going to jump out to show you Gemini really quickly. And so Gemini, we found, can be really effective for generating research reports. So let me share this.
So while we're waiting for Michael, I'd like to also mention one of the questions that were asked. Can you touch on using ChatGPT with the graphic elements, like to create presentations? I have tried using it, but have found it clumsy so far. So you have your thoughts about that, Michael?
Graphic elements. So we've tried to use it before as a company, and we found that it was not that effective. It's gotten a lot better. Where it used to, when you ask for a change in some graphic, it used to change the whole image, and now it can be more precise in changing one feature of an image. So here, if we had a prompt to say, create a report on how artificial intelligence will impact the practice of leadership by business and organizational leaders, how it can leverage to increase personal effectiveness. This is the first report that it generated. And then I thought, well, that's okay. But I was like, be more detailed and include scholarly articles and, focus on personal effectiveness and efficiency. And then it generated this more detailed report. And what I asked it to do is then generate an audio overview, but it didn't recognize that command. What you have to do is create a separate document and then upload it. If you have permission of your company and you have a really long report or lots of data, you're trying to synthesize, you can do the same thing and say, read this report and do a audio overview. And then it can do this amazing podcast. And I know we're a little short on time, but perhaps you could give a sense of what that audio overview will look like, Carl.
So I've also tried using the AI, the audio overview, and like you could upload like a presentation, a PDF file, and then you could ask Gemini, could you create an audio overview? And it would create this kind of output. So here's an example from Michael from his prompt earlier. I will play it now.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into something critical from your sources. How generative AI is just fundamentally changing business leadership.
Yeah, the message across the board is, well, it's loud and clear. AI isn't just some tool for efficiency anymore. It's totally reshaping the top job.
Yeah.
And there's that quote you see popping up, I think, from Professor Lakhani. AI won't replace humans, but humans with AI will replace humans without AI. That really sets the stage, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Our mission today is to get into the how of that shift.
It absolutely does. It's a new ball game. Leaders, they really have to pivot now. Stepping back from those day-to-day managerial things AI can handle and really focusing on the high leverage stuff, the human judgment parts. And to do that, the sources are pretty clear. We need, a new set of what they're calling AI-driven capabilities.
Okay, AI-driven capability. Let's unpack.
So as you can see there, those were AI generated voices. Like that wasn't someone in our company doing that podcast. They just seemed very lifelike to me. And it's for me, I'm used to listening to audiobooks and things like that. That's a great way for me to consume information. So typically in these webinars we've asked for open coaching. We have a volunteer that comes up and being coached. Since today we were focused more on demos and things like that, we just took questions and incorporated them into giving some direct answers. But I want to thank you all for participating and sharing your questions, and as we incorporated them into our demo. And let me turn it back to Carl and Maia to wrap up for us. Carl, we can't hear you right now.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can. Thank you.
Okay. So I was just saying, thank you, Michael, for doing that presentation. It's such a shame that we don't have a lot of time. I feel like a lot of you might have a lot of questions about this topic, but that's an opportunity to book or like have the complimentary session with Michael. We will send you like a follow-up email where you will get that link. So I very much encourage all of you to book that or like use that opportunity.
And as for the follow-up email, as we've mentioned earlier, right after this webinar, we will be sending you a follow-up email that includes the playbook, slide deck, and the complimentary coaching session with Michael. So, and also after this webinar, we'll do a quick after action. And your feedback is really the key. So it helps us know what worked, what to improve, and how to make future sessions even more valuable. Just scan the QR code that you see on the screen right now to share your thoughts in a quick form. So it only takes a minute, and we assure you that we read every responses. So thank you for helping us shape future sessions.
Thank you, Maya. So before we officially close, let's take a quick look at what's coming for our next webinar series. So next month on Friday, November 7th, we at 12 p.m. EST will be back with a brand new session on conversations that connect from basics to breakthroughs. So I invite you all to mark your calendars. It's going to be also another powerful hour of insights, practical tools, and also live coaching. And we'd love to see you there. And we encourage you to invite your friends, your colleagues as well, or anyone that you think that could benefit from this experience.
And as we close, just know that we are here for you. So whether you're curious about coaching, you want resources, or you just simply want to keep the conversation going, we'd love to connect. You can reach us by phone. So that's 202-953-6284, or email us anytime. For Michael, that's Michael at leadershipcoachgroup.com. For me, that's Maya at leadershipcoachgroup.com. And of course, you can always learn more about our team and services at leadershipcoachgroup.com website. So thank you again for joining us today, for your energy, your openness, and your leadership. We look forward to staying connected, and we hope to see you again in our November webinar. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
You.
Thank you for being here and also for the questions. Goodbye.